Howdy, my name is Lizzie, and thanks for listening in on this session of Right. This podcast is all about apostrophes, and hopefully I'll be able to give you some good information about them. We use apostrophes in two main ways, to show that a word possesses something and to create contractions. We'll focus on the possessives first. Apostrophes show that a word is possessive, that it owns something. They don't make the words possessive in themselves. The words already are, which is one of the reasons that apostrophes can be so easy to forget. They're invisible when we speak, so we don't often think about them. These examples of a possessive noun are pretty straightforward. Jack lost Jim's dog, and the dog ate the firm's paperwork. In each case, we add an apostrophe S to show that something possesses something else. Jim possesses the dog, or at least he used to until Jack lost it, and the paperwork belongs to the firm. Simple. Plural nouns that don't end in S act much the same way. The mother belongs to the children, so we have the children's mother. With nouns that do end in S, we place the apostrophe after the S instead of before it. Where are the teacher's students? There are many teachers involved here, and all of them have lost something that belongs to them. They're students. Not good. The students, however, have found their way to a party belonging to the Smiths, of which there is more than one Smith, the Smiths' party, which is good for them. Official names of things, though, like restaurants or stores or societies, can go either way. Some don't use an apostrophe, as in Mother's Cafe, and some do, as in McDonald's. It depends on the name, so we can't automatically assume one way or the other. That's up to them. In a compound noun, a noun that consists of more than one word, the apostrophe will always go after the last word. Take the President of America's plan, for example. President of America is one noun with 3 words, but the apostrophe only follows the last word to show that the whole thing is possessive. When we have 2 or more nouns in the same sentence that both possess the same thing, we use the same rule. Grandma and Grandpa both own the reindeer, but only Grandpa gets an apostrophe S because he's the last one mentioned in the series. However, the apostrophe S here shows that the reindeer belong to not only him, but Grandma as well. In the same way, we could talk about Donald Duck as Huey, Dewey, and Louie's uncle. We place the apostrophe S only on the last noun, Louie, to show that Donald belongs as an uncle to all 3 of them. Then there's omissions. When we take something out of a phrase or out of a word, then we show that by placing an apostrophe where we've deleted something. Thus I can say that my dad graduated in the 70s instead of saying the 1970s. I can also say rock and roll instead of rock and roll if I want to. Contractions are also considered omissions because they take out parts of words. When we condense 2 words into one smaller word, there is always an apostrophe involved. For example, I am becomes I'm, and does not becomes doesn't. But be careful, a lot of times we think that its is a possessive word because it has an apostrophe, but its is actually a contraction of it is instead. If it possesses something, then it's it without an apostrophe. Confusing, right? It goes against the way we would normally think, but then again, we are talking about English grammar here. Some other common errors include possessive pronouns, the pronouns that show ownership of something. They, unlike nouns like Jim, don't need an apostrophe to indicate that they're showing possession. They already show it, both in speaking and in writing, and don't need any help. Thus, saying her's brother read her's diary isn't correct. Her brother read her diary is correct. Well, grammatically anyway. As a rule, apostrophes are not used to form plurals. However, as this is English grammar, there are always exceptions. When we refer to a letter as if it were a word and mean those letters to be plural, then we can use an apostrophe S to show that they are. Likewise, if we have a word in a quotation and want to make that word plural, we can do that by adding an apostrophe S as well. Thus we have our M's and Y's and a lot of maybes. Well, that about sums up the basics of apostrophes. I hope that you've been able to learn something from this podcast, and thanks again for listening in. Be sure to check out our other podcasts for answers to many of your other grammatical concerns. Good luck!